the Stuka had been designed to have two 250-kilogram bombs. But here one sees how they tried to use this new heavier bomb, and they specifically targeted buildings like churches, which were more solidly built, so that afterwards, when the nationalist armies had overrun the area, they could then examine the results of their work. What became immediately clear was that here we have 4 defenseless villages which are chosen for attack, and the way that they actually pick the different buildings that they're going to go to. I mean, what was striking is the fact that they attack the churches because they're the most solidly constructed. But this was all part of a sort of the secrecy, if you like, which was covering the whole idea up. Because many people thought afterwards that they must have been Republicans who'd attacked the churches and destroyed the churches. But in fact, it was also turned out to be a good way of covering up what they were doing themselves, what the Germans were doing. The Republic was doing badly in terms of international propaganda. That only started to change with Guernica, and that is why the nationalists lied entirely about the whole of the Guernica operation, trying to claim that it was the left themselves, the Reds, who had set fire to these houses and so forth. This is absolute rubbish. I mean, one has the details not only in the Condor Legion archive and so forth, but also in Richthofen's own diary, where he describes exactly what was done. The bombing tactics were developed much more in the war in the north, Durango, Guernica, but also they invented carpet bombing, which meant bombing in a row with bombers flying in parallel and dropping their bombs so as to cover an area target, particularly a city. They also used napalm for the very first time, a prototype, if you like, of napalm near Oviedo. And then, of course, and in this particular case, the most interesting for the Germans was the opportunity to use their new Stuka, the Junkers 87. When I was researching my book, I was intrigued by the way that the Spanish Civil War had been used as a laboratory. And here, in fact, was the absolutely the proof of quite how cold-blooded that the Germans could be in following this particular line of experiment. To have selected these particular villages in this way, and then to have carried out these attacks, and then to have analysed them afterwards in such detail, in pages and pages of photographs and so forth, for me was a shock, if you like, because it was so calculating. But also, I thought that it really did reveal the nature of that aspect of the war, the way that the foreign interventionists were behaving in such a totally cynical fashion. So, I mean, you know, it was a vital part of the whole story of the Spanish Civil War for me.